Good morning. I hope that everyone is doing well this morning. And as we do on every Monday, hopefully you have come to understand that we are about positivity. And so we're going to start the week off on the right foot. And we're going to do so by talking about something that I'm running into now more than ever before. In newspaper articles, on TV, on the internet, in personal conversations, mental health is now coming to the fore as a major issue. And I think it's important. There have been several videos that I have done in this particular series that we do on Monday mornings that highlight the need to be concerned about your own mental health. And this morning is another example of my concern. I have found some information that I want to share with you in the form of a video, and it talks about some of the positive coping mechanisms that can help you. But help you with what? One of the leading causes of problems with mental health nowadays, because of what we're involved in and because of the stress and strains of life, is anxiety. Anxiety about how you're going to provide for yourself and for your family. Anxiety about the future. Anxiety about becoming sick. There are a vast array of things to be anxious about. So now, how do you cope? What do you do? This video that we're about to consider together details some positive and healthy coping mechanisms that you can use on the spot that will help you to get a hold of yourself, to not allow your anxieties to cause you to do something that will endanger your mental health. So let's get into the video and see what we can find out, okay?
When we are faced with too much stress or are having difficulty dealing with stress, using healthy coping mechanisms can allow us to feel in control, calm, and ready to handle whatever is causing us stress. On the other hand, relying on unhealthy coping mechanisms may work in the short term, but ultimately may end up hurting our physical health, mental health, and even our relationships. Here are some of the healthy ways we can cope with stress. Box breathing is when we breathe in for 4 seconds, hold our breath for 4 seconds, then breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold our breath for 4 seconds. Repeating this several times. This technique slows down our breathing, which forces our heart to slow and activates the calming response in our body. Another technique, called 5-4-3-2-1, is in our heads we list 5 things we see, 4 things we feel, 3 things we hear, 2 things we smell, and 1 thing that we taste. This technique helps ground us in the present moment and can slow down racing thoughts. Exercise of any type is another healthy coping mechanism. Exercise floods the body with endorphins and can help use up the adrenaline released from stress, clearing our heads and allowing us to feel calmer. Sometimes we are so overwhelmed with stress that we don't even realize how awful we feel. Writing down our feelings to acknowledge them and then making a plan to problem solve can help us tune into our thoughts and feelings and figure out an action plan. Taking a break from technology can help us to focus on our immediate surroundings, tune into how we are feeling, and connect live with others. Leaning on our relationships, talking about what is stressing us out, and asking for help are some of the best ways to cope with stress. It can be difficult to admit that we are struggling, but once we tell someone, we almost always feel better. Spending time with friends and family, even if we don't talk about our stress, can help us feel calmer and less overwhelmed by our circumstances. Gratitude is another helpful way to combat stress. When something is upsetting to us, it can help to be grateful for what is good in our lives. Doing an act of kindness can reduce stress as well. Acts of kindness flood our bodies with feel-good hormones, increase our sense of connectedness and purpose, and help us focus on problems other than our own.
All right, so now I wanted to break the coping mechanisms up into 2 categories. And so The first category was what we just looked at, positive and healthy coping mechanisms. Now, which one of the coping mechanisms that were listed do you think would be best for you? Well, I'll tell you a few of the ones that I automatically gravitated towards. Gratitude was one of them. Being able to look around despite the difficult situation that you may be in and finding something to be grateful for, to be thankful for. And then also acts of kindness. I found that doing things for other people in the midst of having a trialsome situation going really does alleviate some of the difficulty, because you feel good as a result of having helped someone else. And then you know that this one was coming, exercise. Now, I am a gym rat, and I found that over time that that's really a reliable way to successfully cope with difficulties. Now, all of the coping mechanisms that are listed may not get rid of the source of stress. That source of stress may continue with you for the rest of your life. But what we want to focus on is how to cope successfully. Because you understand that in a person's physical health, there may be always challenges that this individual might have to face. There may be some health problems that they have that are not going away, but the way that they cope with those, the medications that they use, the mindset that they have toward their ailment helps them to cope successfully. So it's the same way with mental health. The strategies that we use, that we come up with, are the things that have been tried and true and known to produce positive results of what we are focused on in this particular video, right? So what I want you to do then is to go back, look at the video again, and I'll supply a link to the original video where this information comes from. But I want you to dissect the video and see which one of these coping mechanisms can help you in your day-to-day life. Maybe gratitude is something that you are already doing. Maybe exercise is something that you are already doing. Acts of kindness is something that you are already doing. Well, maybe you can sit down and write your thoughts down in a journal. And then along with the thoughts that you write, as the video helped us to appreciate, maybe you could then formulate a plan as to how you can handle these difficulties that you're facing with a better attitude, and thus you'll get a better outcome. And so it's just a food for thought. There is absolutely no reason to continue to be anxious and to allow anxiety to drive your life if there are things that you can implement, simple things that you can do to help you manage the anxiety successfully. And then a lot of times, based upon the approach that you use, your body responds. It responds with endorphins. It responds with calming down. It responds with allowing you as an individual to gather yourself. And see, that's what we need. We need these kind of coping mechanisms, because in the moment, anxiety can cause you to lash out at individuals around you. It can cause you to resort to anger. It can cause you to speak to individuals in an unkind manner. All such things are things that you probably don't want to happen. And when they do happen, you don't mean them, but it's just the anxiety that's overwhelming you. So to prevent anxiety from overwhelming you, these positive coping mechanisms can be used. And as I mentioned, 3 of them I absolutely use on a day-to-day basis. I try to make sure that I'm grateful. I try to make sure that I'm extending acts of kindness to those around me. And I absolutely try to get some workouts in, some exercise. So instead of me just advocating for mental health, I felt like it was necessary for me to do something that could actually be of benefit to you and to myself practically on a day-to-day basis. I hope you enjoyed the video. Next Monday, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the negative coping mechanisms. Now, it's necessary, even though we're focused on positivity, we have to be aware of the things that we might be doing that might add to our anxiety, that might be a source of detriment to our mental health. We have to be aware of those things so we can avoid them. As always, man, you know I love you. I want you to have a good and productive week. But above all, you know what I'm going to suggest. And it's one of the positive coping mechanisms. Do something positive and watch it return to you in greater measure. See, you thought I made that up, didn't you? No, that's something that's been around way before I was even born. Do something positive and watch it return to you in greater measure. I guarantee you it'll work for you. So as always, man, have a good week. Be productive, be positive. But above all, be easy. Peace.